This is Brandon with Fleet Feet, and we're doing something a little bit differently today. We're not just reviewing one shoe, we're gonna review 5 shoes, and this is actually gonna be pretty unique to Fleet Feet because we're gonna be talking about the 5 best-selling running shoes from Fleet Feet. And these 5 best running shoes are actually coming from 2 brands, but I'm not gonna reveal the answer to what those 2 brands are right now, but I'm sure you can guess what they might be. But across the board, these shoes are very reliable. They're great for a variety of different use cases, from running to walking. And overall, they're all just really supportive and comfortable, cushioned running shoes. And if you wanna learn even more about running shoes beyond these 5 that we're gonna talk about today, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really helps to continue to support us as we put out new videos. But for now, let's just dive into it, and we're actually gonna start with a top seller all the way down to the 5th best seller. And the top seller of 2024 this year from Fleet Feet is the Clifton. The Hoka Clifton has been a staple in so many people's running arsenals. It really is just one of those shoes that everyone can just go to and fall in love with. And it's no surprise here. This is one of the best shoes of 2024. It's incredibly stable, it's soft, it's well cushioned, it's great for walkers or joggers alike. Anyone who's a runner can find a solution, usually with the Clifton. And now with the Clifton being on its 9th model, it's had a lot of practice and redevelopment from Hoka. And Hoka's done a really good job of shaping the shoe into something that accommodates many runners. And just to break this shoe down, the shoe does have an engineered knit upper. And Caroline really enjoyed the flare here in the heel, especially when she's dealing with some Achilles problems. She just found that it really accommodated some of those injuries and some of those little aches and pains really well for her. And just overall, from an injury perspective and an orthopedic perspective, a lot of people gravitate toward Hoka shoes in general, just as shoes that are going to help provide them a little bit more support and cushioning when they're just feeling a little less recovered. And Max really enjoyed the lightweight upper. He felt like his foot was locked in really nicely and it was well supported. He found that there was ample room in the toe box, and the partial gusseted tongue here just added a nice midfoot wrap for him. The midsole is made up of EVA, which is a pretty standard foam that we're seeing across a lot of different use cases in the industry, and this foam is really a staple in a lot of different daily trainers. The drop of this shoe comes in at 5 millimeters, and for the women's model at 37 in the heel and 32 in the toe, and for the men's model 38 in the heel and 33 in the toe. And the outsole is made up of traditional rubber coverage. It is made up of these nice thick lugs in the toe and in the heel, just for a little bit of extra durability in those areas. But overall, our team had no issues with traction. From a ride and performance standpoint, one of our reviewers, Kate, actually found that this shoe, while it is very lightweight, it's also very soft in step and feel. While she found that it was soft in step and feel, there's a nice balance there. She found that it was actually firm enough to keep her nice and stable and push off really energetically on runs. And Kate has been running in the Clifton for years, from 2016 onward, and she's really enjoyed that model just as a go-to daily trainer. If you're looking for a shoe that's going to provide a lot of protection, it's going to be soft, and you're looking for something that's going to last a long time, the Clifton is a good pick. And the weight of this shoe comes in at 8.7 ounces or 246 grams for the men's model, and 7.3 ounces or 206 grams for the women's model, and rounds out at $145. And that's not the only shoe from Hoka that is winning in 2024. The Hoka Bondi actually comes in at the number 2 spot, and the Hoka Bondi is a max cushion daily trainer from Hoka, and it's going to be even more max cushion than that of the Clifton. And similar to that of the Clifton, this has gone through years and years of development and reprocessing, and the Bondi is now on its 8th version. And this shoe isn't just great for running, it's also great for walking. Hoka is really looking to find ways to take impact off of the runner and help them have a more enjoyable running experience. And that's exactly what they've done here with the Bondi. It's not only runners who love this shoe, but people who are on their feet all day, people who work in restaurants, who work as nurses and are on their feet all day. Those individuals also turn to the Bondi as their supportive shoe that they can wear to work and they can also run in, they can go to the gym in, they can walk in. It's just a really nice variable do-it-all shoe. The upper of this shoe is made up of an engineered mesh upper, and it's very comfortable. The fit is pretty dialed in, and you can tell that there's some nice padding around the heel collar and the tongue. And for Caroline, she really enjoyed that smooth and nice fit from the mesh upper, and she felt very supported around the ankle and the heel, and that was just due to that padding and the structure in the heel collar area and a nice wide base, which we'll get to in a minute. And the midsole of this shoe is made up of EVA, which is what is in the Clifton, but this one is going to be nice and soft. It's going to have a little bit more of it, and it's going to be a higher stack. Speaking of stack, the drop of this shoe comes in at 5 millimeters, and for the men's model, it comes in at 41 in the heel and 36 in the toe. And for the women's model, 40 in the heel and 35 in the toe. And overall, the shoe just has a really nice soft foam and just provides ample support throughout the shoe. The outsole is made up of nice rubber coverage in all of the right areas that you might need it. And for Nate, he found that this shoe definitely runs a little bit lighter than what it leads on. The numbers don't always say or speak to the bigger picture. Sometimes you just have to put the shoe on for yourself and find out whether it's going to work best for you. And for Nate, he put the shoe on and he was actually expecting something really heavy, but he actually found that this shoe was quite light. And this shoe comes in at 10.9 ounces or 309 grams for the men's model, or 8.9 ounces or 252 grams for the women's model. And the price rounds out $20 more than that of the Clifton at $165. So we've talked a lot about Hoka running shoes, especially their most popular neutral daily trainers with the Clifton and the Bondi, but there's another brand that doesn't come too far behind and is right up there with Hoka, and that is Brooks. Brooks has been coming out and innovating with a lot of incredible shoes lately with the Glycerin Max and the Brooks Ghost Max and all these different models. What we've been seeing from Brooks is a lot of development and innovation coming through their lines, and that is also true for that of the Glycerin 21. The Glycerin 21 is a daily trainer, but it is a max cushion daily trainer. And this shoe is not just great for running, but it's great for walking too. Much like other Brooks shoes in the past, it has a nice warm upper and it is made up of knit. It has a very cushioned tongue and the heel collar is very well padded. The upper isn't as breathable, but as we get into these colder temps, especially in the fall and winter seasons, a nice, warm, and protective upper is something that you might enjoy. And from a midsole perspective, you get that nice DNA Loft V3, which is a nitrogen-infused midsole. And if you want to hear even more about nitrogen-infused midsoles, you can actually go to our other reviews on YouTube from Brooks that talk all about that midsole process. There definitely is more of it than that of the Brooks Ghost, which is another shoe that we might be talking about next. I don't know. I'm not going to give away too many hints or secrets, but this shoe has a little bit more stack than that of the Ghost, which is more of a neutral daily trainer, and this one is a max cushion daily trainer. And not only that, but this shoe is actually increased in stack height in the heel and in the toe. So the drop of the shoe actually comes in at 10 millimeters with 28 in the heel and 18 in the forefoot. And the outsole of this shoe, it actually has quite a bit of rubber coverage here. It's called Road Tack rubber, which is a specialized rubber from Brooks. We had no issues with outsole or any traction problems. And one of our reviewers, Ashley, actually found that most versions of the Glycerin were just too soft for her and didn't offer that responsiveness that she needed. But with the 21st model, she actually found that there was a much nicer balance between a soft ride and a responsive one. And the weight of this shoe actually comes in at 8.8 ounces or 249 grams for the women's model and 9.8 ounces or 277 grams for the men's model. And the price rounds out similarly to that of the Hoka Bondi at $160, only $5 less. And moving on to another shoe that inevitably was just always going to make this list, it is a tried and true staple for Brooks, and that is the Brooks Ghost 16. The Brooks Ghost 16, I mean, that shoe is everywhere. You see it at race marathons, you see it at expos, you see people walking down the street in that shoe when they're walking their dog, you see them putting this shoe on when they're going to work, whatever it might be. The Brooks Ghost is everywhere. It's one of the best-selling shoes from Brooks, and it has just become this staple for so many runners in their lines. Similar to that of the Glycerin, this Brooks model also carries a nice, warm, and thick upper, though it is very comfortable, and that is something that Brooks really specializes in, just making these really comfortable and warm uppers. Similar to that of the Glycerin, this shoe is made up of DNA Loft V3, which is a nitrogen-infused foam, but there is less of it than that of the Glycerin. This shoe is going to be a little bit more lower profile and a bit firmer than that of the Glycerin. The Glycerin is just a little bit softer. The drop of this shoe actually is pretty high, and it comes in at 12 millimeters, with 24 in the heel and 12 in the forefoot. And the outsole rubber of this shoe, similar to other Brooks shoes in the past, is very thick. There is a ton of outsole rubber here, and I would imagine this is where most of the weight of the shoe is coming from. Not to say that this shoe is all that heavy actually, but I would imagine that if there was an area to point to where there's just a little bit more weight, it's probably in the outsole, but the outsole does just provide such a thick base for durability and traction. I'm not entirely sure I'd want it any other way. This is a perfect shoe for anyone who is a beginner runner or doesn't really know what shoe to turn to just yet, and they're just looking for a new running shoe to get started in their walking, jogging, or running journey. Brooks has done a really good job of just making an all-around accommodating and agreeable shoe. While the DNA Loft V3 is definitely a big improvement from the previous model, it isn't always the most exciting on the market. Not every shoe always needs a ton of bells and whistles in it. Sometimes you just need a stable shoe that is supportive and is going to be a nice, familiar feel on foot, and that's exactly what the Brooks Ghost offers. And the weight of this shoe comes in at 8.8 ounces or 249 grams for the women's model, and for the men's model, 9.8 ounces and 277 grams. And this shoe comes in only at $140, making it the lowest option on our list. And last but not least, another shoe from Brooks rounds out the top 5 for us, and that is the Brooks Adrenaline 24 GTS. This shoe is unique from all of the other shoes that we've talked about so far in that it is a support shoe and a stability option, whereas all of the other shoes that we talked about were neutral daily trainers. This shoe is also a daily trainer, but it has that stability or support option too. And what does GTS actually mean? It actually means go to support. And the Brooks Adrenaline has actually become one of the best well-known options for those who need a little bit of extra stability and protection. While many brands are actually moving away from the medial posting as a way to solve for stability, the Brooks Adrenaline decides to stay true to its roots and keeps it in here. The upper is made up of a mesh upper, and similar to that of the Ghost and the Glycerin, this shoe is a warm and thick, cozy upper. It has a nice padded heel collar, and it has a very cushioned tongue. The midsole is made up of DNA Loft V3, which is similar to what you saw in the Brooks Ghost. And Caroline definitely found that the evolution of stability shoes just continue its rampage, and no medial posting is safe, except for the Brooks stability shoes and the Adrenaline. The Adrenaline actually has this guide rail system here, which is that nice medial posting that Caroline is talking about. And the firm medial posting here, she said, just sits on that medial side of the shoe. And there's also just some really nice reinforcement on the lateral side too. But for Caroline, she found that the cushioning just feels somewhat firm, but it definitely has some nice flexibility in it, especially around the forefoot, which she really enjoyed. And the drop of this shoe is 12 millimeters with a midsole stack of 25 and 13 in the forefoot. So this shoe does have a low stack, but it does have an aggressive drop. And on the outsole, it is just a standard rubber outsole, and it's thick rubber outsole as per usual from Brooks, and there is a lot of it, which is going to make for great durability and traction. This shoe feels really similar to that of the Brooks Ghost, and that's because of the similar stack heights, the similar drop, and the similar midsole foam that's in the shoe. The only big difference that you can really feel is that extra support in the medial side from the go-to support system. This shoe is a very agreeable shoe to run in, and it makes sense for a lot of runners who just need that extra support, and it's just going to get the job done for you. It's definitely a safe option. And the weight of this shoe comes in at 10 ounces or 283 grams for the men's model, and 8 ounces or 226 grams for the women's model. and it rounds out to $140, which is the same price of that of the Brooks Ghost. And if you're wondering whether any of these 5 shoes are gonna fit or work best for you, you can definitely go check them out at your local Fleet Feet store. Try on the Adrenaline, try on the Ghost, go try on the Clifton, the Bondi, or the Glycerin, and put them all on. Go walk in them, go run in them, test them out. Just get a feel for what shoe is going to make the most sense for you. You can go walk right into your local Fleet Feet store. You can talk to an outfitter, and they're gonna be able to provide you all of the expert guidance that you need to make sure that you're getting the shoe that is best for you. But if you want to check out even more reviews from us, whether it's a roundup or a comparison video or another shoe from Brooks or Hoka, you can go check them out right here on YouTube.